Hello and welcome to this presentation on recommendations for course offerings in the Michigan Virtual School Catalog. I'll delve into titles and subject areas that I'm recommending for addition or deletion from the catalog, along with the methodology and rationale for my recommendations. Finally, I'll address some of the challenges and questions that would need to be answered in order to further refine my recommendations and to put these proposals into action. Let's begin with an overview of my three recommendations. First, I'm recommending that we continue to offer the bulk of the coursework within the catalog. More precisely, I'm recommending that we continue to offer all of the coursework currently offered in the core subject areas of math, English and literature, science, social studies, and foreign language. Secondly, I'm recommending that we cut 3 courses from the catalog, archaeology and the 2 sections of leadership skills, A and B. And finally, I'm recommending new course offerings within 5 subject areas: agriculture, food and natural resources, engineering and technology, business and marketing, public protective and government services, and healthcare sciences. My first recommendation rests largely on the need to meet our customers' needs and align our offerings to their values, and our customers desire that our online offerings fulfill student graduation requirements. This graphic shows the distribution of the 18 Michigan Merit curriculum credits required for graduation in our state. You can see that when we group foreign language with the 4 core content areas, we constitute 89% of the credits required to graduate, leaving just 2 credits in physical education and health and visual performing and applied arts. These are the core areas that represent the vast majority of Michigan Virtual School's course offerings, and continuing to offer these courses will allow our customers to meet their needs, both in terms of resolving scheduling conflicts as well as the need to recover credit in required courses that were not successfully passed on site at the local level, and to allow students additional choices in their core as they get to their junior and senior years. When we examine the success rate among students in these core areas, we do find that some of the lower performing areas show up in the core classes. But this makes sense given that the bulk of the courses are located in these areas. We're going to find both areas of success and areas of struggle. Further, it's compounded by the fact that this is the primary area where students who need credit recovery are going to take their coursework with Michigan Virtual School. These are the students who tend to have lower success rates in their online courses, as they have had lower success rates in the courses they take on site. And yet, students who choose to take core courses online because of scheduling conflicts or the need to find alternatives when courses are not offered locally have a much higher success rate. And so the decision by Michigan Virtual to offer the full breadth of core content area courses will allow us to meet the needs of students motivated by both of these causes. Let's turn now to my second recommendation, that is to cut 3 courses from the catalog, archaeology and leadership skills. My rationale for this recommendation can be summed up with a single phrase: return on investment. And by that I mean an ROI for both the customer as well as for Michigan Virtual as the provider. In each of these courses, there have been less than a dozen students enrolled, and among that handful, only a 50% passing rate. So it can hardly be argued that there's a strong market for these courses, that the students and districts are receiving what they need from these courses being offered, and we could certainly argue that our teachers at Michigan Virtual could be far more productively assigned to more successful and popular courses. Finally, let's look at the rationale for my third recommendation to expand course offerings in 5 select subject areas. This recommendation was based upon my analysis of three sources of data, which I'll explain in more detail in the subsequent slides. First of all, I began by taking a look at a survey of public high schools in Michigan to take a closer look at graduation requirements around the state. I chose the 25 largest public high schools in the state of Michigan, which represent almost 54,000 students, or roughly 5% of the students enrolled in public schools in the state, so a fairly significant sample size. What I found was that these schools required on average 4 to 5 additional elective credits beyond what is required under the Michigan merit legislation. When we take that data into account to modify our look at total graduation requirements for students in the state of Michigan, what we find is that these additional elective local credits are actually the largest single course type required in a high school student's path toward graduation. And so turning our attention to this elective area will allow Michigan Virtual to tap into a market with real potential. We can further validate that assumption by considering what we can infer from the average course load that a student takes online with Michigan Virtual. You can see that a student on average takes 1 to 2 courses in a given year, so they're likely not meeting the bulk of their requirements in the core areas through online coursework, whereas they may very well be taking that extra elective credit needed in their last couple of years toward graduation. The 2015 edition of Keeping Pace with Digital Learning, published by the Evergreen Education Group, provides further data to support the assumption that the elective areas are a critical realm for course offerings and enrollments among state virtual schools nationwide. In fact, the elective areas outside of what we typically see in specified graduation requirements make up, again, the single largest course type in courses taken online nationwide. So with justification in hand for turning to the elective areas, let's now take a closer look at which elective subject areas provide the most ample opportunity for Michigan Virtual. You can see that this table reconfigures some of the data that was published in the 2014 Michigan Virtual University Annual Report to the Legislature. I've taken the data in Figure 2 and modified the completed passing percentage a bit by taking that completed and passed rate and subtracting the withdrawn rate from it to get a true percentage of the number of students who attempted the course who actually completed it successfully. And then with that new indicator, I've rank ordered the NCES subject areas from highest to lowest with that passing rate. You can see that the subject areas that rose to the top are all elective subject areas, and they are the ones that I identified for expanding coursework in the current catalog. I found that there were only 11 courses offered within these 5 subject areas, just 5% of the over 200 courses offered by Michigan Virtual School in 2013-14. And yet there were over 2,100 students enrolled in these 11 courses, representing more than 10% of all the students who attempted coursework with Michigan Virtual School that year, which is certainly an indicator of popularity or interest in these subjects. So I've outlined a summary of why I believe expansion of courses in these areas will be successful for Michigan Virtual. First of all, they're all elective courses, again, the single area most sought after in online enrollments. Secondly, they're the type of courses, again, agriculture and natural resources, the health sciences, engineering. They're the type of courses that are unlikely to be offered on site by a local school district, especially school districts that are small in size or short on resources. They are the sort that are most likely to be sought after by juniors and seniors, those seeking advanced coursework in the elective area, which again is Michigan Virtual's largest target market. And finally, they provide an opportunity to pick up on some elements of success in creating model courses going forward, as each of these areas has had a lot of success in students passing them. And so very briefly, here's a slide that shows some examples of courses that could be developed and offered in these 5 subject areas. Classes like zoology, drafting, electronics, maybe circuitry, different types of management and sales, criminal justice, or other aspects of the health sciences that would be geared towards students looking to go into nursing or pre-medicine. But these are simply examples. I mean, the actual offerings have limitless potential depending on further data that we acquire. Finally, let's wrap up by taking a look at my recommendations for where we should go next in order to verify my assumptions as well as to put some actions in place around these proposals. I would recommend that IT gather some additional data to verify my conclusions, updated data sets from the 2014-15 school year and maybe even into the current school year to date. Secondly, I'd love to see student learning services connect with the instructors of the 11 courses identified so that we can start building that model of success around those courses that have found success with their students, examining the course structures and instructional methods in order to inform the design of the new courses that are built in these subjects. I think that customer service could supplement that work by surveying the students and perhaps the mentors among those school districts who participated in the 11 model courses identified, noting areas of satisfaction among the students as well as interest in what other courses those students or mentors may desire to see in those subjects. And finally, it falls on the instructional product development team to then work with student learning services on starting to design the newly proposed courses. And I think even more so long term to revisit some of those select courses in the core areas that are finding less success and redesigning those along the elements of success that we'll be building into the new coursework in the short term. Thank you, and I hope this was informative.